living from here up
Yeah.
instead of getting down into our body. It's giving us the messages all the time of what we need, but we don't listen because physical, emotional, and mental. We've separated it in this culture, but it's not separated. It's all connected.
Come along with us as we dive into the fascinating world of sound, exploring its many dimensions, blending the best of both worlds to uncover the secrets of sound, voice, and vibration. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm very excited for my guest today on Conversations Bridging the Science and Spirituality of Sound Healing. And today I have with me Susan Lieberman of Pathways to Mind, Body, Wellness. Did I say that right? I think I did.
You are.
Okay, wonderful. And Susan and I met each other online, and then she came to one of my events, and I just love her work, and I find that it is so very much in concert with what I'm doing as well. And I wanted to share this conversation with her today. And a little bit about her. She is a nurse, an integrative practitioner, a certified health and life coach, a grief educator, massage therapist, certified Qigong instructor, and a meditation teacher. And she also does family caregiving coaching. And she empowers women who feels depleted, stuck, or unfulfilled to reignite their passion, reclaim their purpose, and create a vibrant next chapter at any age or stage. And she draws from over 40 years of experience and bridges evidence-based Western science with time-honored Eastern healing traditions to help women restore health, vitality, joy, and meaning, whether caregiving for others or rediscovering themselves. And that is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful bio. And as I said, so much in line with what I've been doing with the radical self-care, with the sound, voice, and vibration, really bringing it home back here, because we as women, we have this terrible habit of putting ourselves last, don't we?
You sure do. You sure do.
Yeah, so
Culturally, that's what we do.
right. So if we're not going to take care of ourselves, what's gonna it just doesn't serve. It doesn't serve our purpose to not put ourselves first, certainly with certain things, and to make sure that we have enough energy and we have enough vitality to enjoy our lives, because our vibration, if our vibration is tired, worn out, how is that going to communicate? That's going to not going to communicate well to those around us, because our vibrations actually affect those around us. So definitely want to discuss a little more about that with you, Susan, and get your take on that and your wealth of experience. So just really, I mean, there's so much. You have quite a bio of you have a lot of experience and a lot of holistic modalities. And is something that you've always been drawn to, these types of modalities and the self-care?
Yes,
Would love to hear a little more.
yes, it certainly has. First, Ruth, I want to thank you for inviting me on your show. And I really believe that we have synergy in what we do. I love the sound and vibration aspect of it. It's just like nothing. It's just a wonderful experience of to be able to do that, because as you said, we are energy and vibration. That's what we are, right? And if we want vitality and energy, we need to take a look at our vibration in many different forms. So we do many of the same things, except we use slightly different modalities to do it. And that's self-care, bringing it back home. So I wanted to say that. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's my honor.
And I loved the class that I went to with you last week. So anybody out there, you got to experience it.
Oh,
But
thank you.
for me, I have always been in a caregiving role in some way, even and I've always felt that, and I've always felt the vibration and the energy and a different perspective. So it started when I was 5 years old, that I can remember back that young, where my brother and I, we had my parents had a farm, and I would go out in the farm with him, and we would find injured animals, injured birds, and we would bring them back to health and release them into the wild. So it was always something that I've always done. I've always seen the or energy and felt the energy. So it's always lived with me. And I've unfortunately been in the caregiving role at a very young age, because my mom was diagnosed with ovarian cancer when I was 12. And overnight, I went from being a preteen, with the hormones raging, to having full adult responsibilities for my household, for my mother's care, and for my brothers and my dad. We each had our own roles in helping out. So it was just automatic for me to become a nurse. But when I was a nurse, I worked at a major cancer center in New York City, and I knew that there needed to be a better way. I mean, I helped people who were dying transition to the other side, and the struggles. And then I had my own struggles. They tried diagnosing me with fibromyalgia and, osteoporosis. And that's how I got into women's health a little bit more. And while I do believe in Western evidence-based science, there's also something beyond that, to look at root causes and to look at the emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual aspects of well-being. And so that was my journey back to health, and vitality and vibrancy, and energy, as you were talking about. So that's a little bit about how I got here. I mean, there's a whole bunch more to the story, but that's a synopsis of it. And I know that, especially for women, we have different needs at different stages of our lives.
Oh, most
And we
definitely.
have different vibratory frequencies at different stages of our lives. And that needs to be honored and recognized and worked with, so that as we go on the ladder of life, we are not labeled expired, that we still have that vibrancy and vitality. This is a rebirth for us at each stage of life.
Yeah, yeah. Right. And yeah, no, I totally agree with that because, when I went through menopause myself and as being over 10 years post-menopause now, yeah, what a change, what a wake-up call, what a transformation. Very transformative period, and very different. And I did not have to caregive, which a lot of women are at my age. They're taking care of elderly parents at this point in their time. And my gosh, I just don't know. I think I would have collapsed from that if I had had to do that. My folks have all passed on earlier. So I really respect women who are doing this. It's quite an I'm sure it's they don't consider it a burden, but I think it could be a very physical, energetic drain burden for them if they don't take care of themselves, right? And which a lot of women don't, as I said earlier. And that's who you're helping, right? Yeah.
So caregiving, a lot of us are even sandwich generation. So it's even earlier than, quote, menopause, because we may be in our late 30s or even 40s taking care of our own children.
Right.
And then also a parent who is aging, and may have some difficulties. But it goes beyond menopause. menopause is just the transformation or the catalyst. Physiologically, hormones start to change at around 37. And in our 40s, by the time we're 40, things are starting to really change, even though we may not exhibit all the quote perimenopausal symptoms yet. So when we're in our 20s and 30s, we're more outward focused, right? Our energies are so outward focused. Our vibratory frequencies are outward focused. It's maybe focused on starting a family, having a family, taking care of kids, making sure everybody's needs are met, our careers. And, we go into overdrive that way, right? And then at some point, we're like, oh my goodness, what am I doing? Because it takes a toll on us. At some point, it will catch up to us. That's the self-care portion of it that really starts so much sooner, really. And in many ways, we're made to feel guilty in this society to put ourselves on the same priority level, right? But then it will catch up to us. Physiologically, it'll catch up for sure. Uh, Mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. So then when we're in our 40s and then specifically in our 50s, we're like, whoa, wait a minute. Where have I been? What have I been doing? Right? Where's me in all of this? Where's the true me? Where's the true self? Did I lose myself? Even if I've got this wonderful career and wonderful, wonderful partner, kids, not kids, but my life seems to be full, and yet I can't take it anymore. Or I'm at the point of breaking, or I'm not breaking, but something's missing, something's hollow inside me. So that perimenopausal stage and that menopausal stage is just another stage of our growth that we have to take, an exciting stage of now going back to ourselves, coming back home, like you said, and saying, okay, now's some time for me. Doesn't mean I keep people out. Doesn't mean I'm going this way all the time, but I might be going this way a little bit and now this way a little bit. Back to me, back to my center, back to who I really am, back to the fullness, back to the joy of life, back to that energy and vitality. While some of us may not have the same stamina for longer periods of time, that energy and vitality, it just takes a different direction and we can get it back. Well, we have to look at everything. We have to look at everything in a balance. And balance does not mean that it's just total balance this way. Sometimes our physicalness takes precedence. Sometimes our spirituality. Sometimes somebody else may take a little bit more of us, but we're still counterbalancing it. So we're looking at it from all aspects, energetically, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and mentally.
Mm, mm. Yeah, definitely. I wish that the awareness that I have now to the awareness of self, the exploration, the necessity of tuning back into me was much more. I was much more aware of that at a younger age because I feel that so I wouldn't have made some of the decisions that I made, right? That did not lead me down the path where that was the best for me. That when you can stop and really tune in to that your own inner guidance, and I think that that is a piece of what we just said before we were speaking, before we put on record, was that the wisdom that comes with this stage of the game, and there better be a payoff, right? But the wisdom that comes, the it's very difficult to impart that to a younger person who you said is in the very active phase of their lives and they have young children or they have a high-powered career, it's very difficult. And that's okay. I guess that's just sort of the way, that's the stages we're talking about, right? The different,
Yes.
you can only you speak to people who are going to be hearing you, who are going, like people who are going to be staying on and listening to this video are not going to be the 20 something crowd, right? Because they're like, no, I haven't got time for that. It's not where I'm at right now. But there is certainly a call for a much greater awareness at this stage of the game for people who are at this stage. Much greater call, because we need people who have gone past that point right now, who have gone past the all the active stage, with the kids and this and that. And I know there's some of them are caregivers and so forth, but we need that wisdom. We need the elders of our society right now. And I'm calling all of you elders. I'm looking right at you right now. I'm calling all of you. We need to come into our power and our sovereignty and our strength and our wisdom, because we have plenty to give still. Plenty to give. There's no expired sign on my forehead, or anybody else's for that matter, right? So, and I feel like there's a great shift, isn't there, of things awakening. People are waking up to what we all long thought to be hold as truth, which is not truth anymore. We're learning these untruths and waking up. The blinders are going off, but we need people who have that fortitude, who have that wisdom, right? And I
Yes.
think that's the group that you are speaking to at this point and
That's
helping,
exactly it.
Susan.
We do not have expired. We have need us. This world needs us
Oh gosh,
because
yes.
we have, I honestly think that we have the experience and the wisdom and the knowledge that very difficult. We've lived a lot of things that really means something. And we have that to impart in that second half or whatever chapter you're going into next. And by the way, that purpose and gives you energy and liveliness and raises your vibration. Now, wherever you are in your stage right now, it's actually perfectly fine, because you're there for a reason. You're there to learn whatever lessons you need to learn. So wherever anybody is fine. But the trajectory, you can you can choose which trajectory you will go on. You can choose expired, or you can choose to live an entirely different way that benefits all. And by the way, for those 20s and 30s and even early 40s somethings, we as the elders, and by the way, in most other cultures, and certainly in the Eastern and indigenous cultures, the more revered, the more honored you are as you get older. That wisdom is so honored. In our culture, we have it reversed, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah. The
So,
ageism is real, for
yes.
sure.
So
And
that's
fear.
standing in our power. We have so much wisdom. We are not sidelined. We are not our grandmas anymore. We're not that. We are not sidelined. Um, we can also impart this wisdom to the younger generations so that maybe when they get to our stage, they're even in an even better position and the world is in a better position. By the way, you talk about caregiving and people think, oh, dementia's for people in their 70s and 80s. But by the time you get those symptoms, that means that you've had your physiological, biological brain changes 20 to 30 years before they've started. So what you're doing in your 20s and 30s matters. And it's not just about going and pumping iron. Okay. And then you put your, and then you put your emotions on top of that, and it accelerates that process. And the limiting beliefs, and women still have a lot of uh, beliefs in, because of our society, of what we should be doing, how we should be acting. Men have to be strong and don't feel those emotions, don't let that energy out, but then it goes down deep, 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 deep. And women are, you're so emotional, you're in a corporate world, or you're in this position, don't be such a woman, don't be such a female, right? So there's that downplaying of what is normal, uh, is seen as abnormal. Now, how we react or act is a different story, but we have to feel everything. We have to start when we're younger, not when we're older. And you can start then too. But that's the wisdom for the younger generations. And then as we get older as women, or older, wiser as women, and we're more on, our journey has gotten us farther, we have different needs. So that, and those needs don't make us any less, they make us more. It's like we're transforming. Like we gave birth, some of us, if we're mothers or if we're pet parents, it doesn't matter. But when you're in your 20s and 30s, you're giving birth to who you think you are at that time, even if you're not giving birth to a quote, a baby, right? It's you're giving birth to yourself, right? And
Sure.
then when we get into later on into our 50s, maybe late 40s and 50s and beyond, it's another rebirth.
Mm.
It is a rebirth. And we can raise our vibratory frequency for health and well-being, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, energetically, and the planet. So, and there's many ways to do that. We talked about hot flashes, and some of us have hot flashes, some of us don't, some of us can't sleep, some of us, a taboo is, sexual intimacy, don't talk about that, right? And the changes that may happen there. And the changes in, how our brain works and functions, and our hormones. And there's so many things that we can do, again, to balance it out. But the balance doesn't have to be the same as it was when we were younger.
No, certainly not. Wonderfully said. Thank you. You have worked in so many different modalities, and I one of my favorites is qigong. Certainly, the Eastern disciplines resonate with me much more deeply, but there's a lot more coming out now about different somatic movements you can do. That's like a big buzzword now, is somatic stuff. Um, and I know you're probably very familiar with that. Can you give us a couple of exercises that would be helpful for people, like say a caregiver, a harried caregiver. She's overworked. She's still trying to work, right? So like a lot of times people, they're not retired yet. They're still working. Solopreneurs like me, we're never going to retire. But I'm still working very hard. I sit at this computer too long every day. But and say I was taking care of an aging parent or whatever, and pulling my hair out, and I've got hot flashes, and and they're driving me crazy, and I can't sleep. What would you tell me? How would you help me?
Well, first of all, there's so much to that.
I know.
And that's what I mentor my clients on. There's so much to it, but I will start somewhere. So you mentioned qigong and Eastern, what I call Eastern energy healing modalities, right? So in the West, we would go, oh, you got to go rest. Yeah, right. Okay. Or, you're going to go on HRT.
Take a pill.
Take a pill, take a pill, take a pill. And then the pill And I believe in Western medicine. So I'm a nurse. Okay. So I believe in Western medicine, but take a pill is not the answer first. Okay. That is not the answer first. The answer first is to take a look at that balance within the body.
Mm.
Okay. That's the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual, because the mental and emotional, it has been shown that hormones fluctuate, right? Especially in the starting in the late 30s, actually, 40s, and then by 50, they're fluctuating all over the place, right? So, what you're thinking and feeling has a tremendous impact on those fluctuating hormones.
Mm.
So we have to take a look at it. That's the holistic approach. And that's what Eastern healing wisdom traditions do. It's not just take a pill, but they're starting to get at the root cause. And that's what I do when I start to work with someone. Okay. Vibratory energy. What is going on? Because that creates us. That's where you and I are aligned very much in what we do. Okay. So if I were to tell you there's things I would tell you from a Western science perspective and things I would tell you from an energetics perspective. So you asked me about energetics, so I'll tell you that first. And this crosses science. One of the things that I would tell you to do, and I have quickies, I call them quickies if
Mm-hmm.
on the spot, quickies that you can do. The biggest quickie to do is the breath. And you know that as well, right? The breath is, if you're feeling like you're going to pull your hair out, is to pause, step back, and breathe. When we breathe and we have a longer exhale than an inhale, that stimulates or that brings online the parasympathetic nervous system, which immediately starts to calm us down so that we don't feel like we're going crazy. That's an on the spot, that's a quickie. Okay. So that's something that everybody can do. So you take an inhale, if you can, down from into your chest, into your abdomen, and your lower hand as you breathe in should be pushed out, and then release with a longer exhale. And sometimes even making a sound, whatever sound comes out of you, because sometimes we need to go, ugh, right? We need to get it out because it's always holding in, and we feel guilty because we should be able to do it all, and we're people pleasing, and we have to be perfectionist, and before you know it, right? So that's number one. Number two, if we're talking about Qigong, and I have a lot of these videos, but I'm going to now combine Western science with Eastern healing wisdom traditions. So, and you can talk about the tuning forks and all of the vibratory sounds. I'm going to talk about the body. You mentioned somatic. Somatic just means body based.
Mm-hmm.
No, even if we are running outside 3 miles a day, we still live from here up,
Mm-hmm.
from the head up. We're
Yeah.
not in our bodies, even if we're, putting on our makeup and we're the perfect weight and we look great and, we've got our muscles are just the where we want them to be. And we're still in our heads. We're not in our body. Our head is the analytical mind, but our body gives us our wisdom where we've buried things. It's not analytical. You talked about that intuition. You talked about our gut. Our intuition as women is very strong,
Mm.
very, very strong. So now, if we're going to merge East and West, here's a practice to do. And a lot of when we call it balance, our emotions are wreaking havoc with our endocrine system. Our cortisol, our adrenaline, our estrogen, our progesterone, our DHEA, and even our testosterone.
Yep.
Okay. It's wreaking havoc with everything. And there's a scientific explanation that I'm not going to get into. So now we have to rebalance that as well. Okay. One of the ways to do it is tapping. So qigong. So you'll start, and you might start with an arm, and you're tapping all the way down, and you're tapping this way. You can see this on my YouTube channel, and you're tapping this way. You're even getting your face. Can you imagine even holding your face? If you hold your face like this, how good that feels. That's helping your parasympathetic nervous system,
Mm. Self-love. Yeah.
your self-love.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
you can even tap down, because this is tapping or bringing online all of our endocrine glands. Okay. And there's a certain way of doing this that we
Mhm.
teach in Qigong, specifically for women's health. I even get the breasts, because we're different than men, and we have to move the energy in here too. We
Yeah.
got to get the
The
endocrine
lymph.
glands working correctly. We got to get the breasts and all the lymph working correctly.
Yeah.
We've got to get the energy out of our heads. We've got to bring online the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system, because we need that
Mm.
too. That's our fight and flight, but our parasympathetic is our rest and digest. Okay. And 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 maybe even hugging ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay. There's other things about how to also, when you don't get sleep, and you and as we go on that journey, sleep is harder. When we don't get sleep, we can't function correctly. And then this becomes even worse. Okay. So there's things to do for that. I'll give you a quickie. This is called the on mien. So if you go to your earlobe, can you see my earlobe, everybody? Wait a minute, I'll get here. Okay, and you go, there's a valley right below your earlobe. And then you just press that just gently. You can almost feel a little let down,
Mm.
a little calming and relaxing. That's just one way to do it. It's called on mien.
On me in.
We
Mm.
look at other things, there's teas and all of those things. And there's also, for caregivers and people, we skip our lunches. We don't take breaks. We sit for long times at our computer. We think we got to get it correct and perfect. We can take even 2 minutes and get up, and maybe even do that
Yeah.
exercise,
Yeah.
right? Exercises for because physical, emotional, and mental. We've separated it in this culture, but it's not separated. It's all connected, and we can choose how we want to go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
I hope I've answered some of that in a very short amount of time.
Oh, you did. You did, Susan. Wonderfully. Yes. No, it's you're singing my song about living from the neck up and using getting into the body. I'll share the exercises. Yeah, just touching yourself, touching your body, just that, just sitting there and going, "Oh, I have a body."
And even noticing the resistance to
Right?
that, because when you
Yes.
tell certain people, "Oh, touch my body," you can almost hear it. Or if you tell people to smile, no,
No, it
smiling
feels.
helps.
Oh, right, because, right. Your brain gets when you smile. They said something. If you hold a smile for 30 seconds, it'll shift your mood because your
Notice
brain
the
doesn't know that you're not right. You're
notice the resistance we have to all of this.
huge.
We're living from here up
Yeah.
instead of getting down into our body. It's giving us the messages all the time of what we need, but we don't listen. And we've been so shut off and disconnected. So your work helps
Yes.
reconnect to who we have always been, and so does mine.
Yes, it helps you remember. It helps you remember. There is that. Yeah. It's I work with people with their voice, always have as a voice teacher, of course, as well. But I always considered myself a holistic based voice teacher because I would have them making funny sounds. Oh my gosh, they couldn't do it. People are so resistant to making any kind of any sound, like, and we make sounds all day, so, but intentional sound to help us get deeper into our body. There is tremendous resistance to that. Uh, but what I was going to share with you was the other day, I was doing an exercise, and it was basically called the silent hum. And I have to give credit to Vicky Dodd for this exercise. I'm reading her beautiful book now. And she said, you just close your eyes and just imagine you can hear your voice in your head. You can hear your voice, and you can just let a hum or a sound move down, like move down your spinal column. You can hear it in your head and then play around a little bit down in your digestive system, maybe in your leg, your hip, your arm, wherever. Okay. I was having the best time doing that. I was getting all sorts of chills and nervous. I was unwinding. I was shaking. My head was shaking. It was amazing. I was amazed at
So,
the,
from a physiological standpoint, what is happening is the brain doesn't know whether you're doing it for real or not.
right.
Okay. The brain doesn't know that, right? So, if you're practicing the piano in your head, right, right, you know that it's not quite like actually physically practicing it, but it really helps. Okay. So, when I'm talking about the smile, which also the parasympathetic nervous system, the vagus nerve goes all through there. It goes to the heart, it goes to the abdomen, it goes to a lot of portions of the body, and it goes from the body up more than it goes from down. You're stimulating all of that, right? So even if you're smiling in, if you can't, I can't show anybody I'm smiling, even if you're smiling internally, even if you're humming internally, that will work because that it's a vibratory, it's an energetic frequency, and it will work, and it informs the brain, not vice versa.
No, absolutely. I think they've done studies on this with athletes who imagine right, who imagine, hitting a home run or getting the putt, or getting the shot, and just going through the motions in their intention, and it actually improves their game quite a bit. And like you say, anything. So that was a very interesting feeling for me. I also was touching my face, and there was a feeling like of, oh, it was like love. It was love. And it was like my body knew I was paying attention to it, and giving it love, and there was a recognition of that somehow. It's hard to put words to something that, it's difficult.
So that's the power of touch,
Yeah.
the nervous system, and on the brain, and all the organs.
Yeah.
Okay. And we are so conditioned. That's part of the self-love. If you were to ask people to touch themselves, it's hard. And I also say, maybe it's the face, maybe it's the throat, maybe it's the chest, maybe it's the abdomen or solar plexus. Where is that for you? Maybe it's multiple places. Maybe it changes, right?
Mhm.
Maybe that changes. But also in Eastern energetic healing arts, each one of our senses is related to an organ. It's the outside way that the organs see and experience the world to energetically bring that in and to balance the body. So we need all of our senses to be able to do that. Now, not everybody has all of our senses, but in some way we can do that. We all, whether it's through sight, it's through touch, it's through sound, it's through smell, through our sixth sense, hearing, it all helps and balances us and gives us, because so many of us, especially as women, have been told that unless we're giving to others, what worth do we have? a lot of us have self-worth issues of not being enough, of never being enough.
Right.
Most of us, I would say, if we really look deep down inside. So this is that self-love of even starting to touch ourselves is so important.
Yeah, I was going to say that I think it probably, for a lot of people, there is a deep well of not deserving it, not deserving to give that love to our bodies, and a lot of women have body issues, as body dysmorphia and all that issues as well. So why would I want to love this fat on my belly, or whatever, or this heart that is acting up, that's always palpitating. But that's the whole piece of it, is that your energy, your intention, your vibration, to send that energy to that part of your body, that, or your whole body, or certainly parts that are troubling you. That's the whole piece of it, is that we need
Yes.
to do that, whether we do it with our intention, whether we do it with a silent sounding, or with some of the methods you're talking about. People don't realize, I think it's because some of it is so simple, maybe. Breath.
They're looking for, you got to give me a pill or
Right.
something else to do
Has
with
to be more, right. Right. In
or
order
it
to
has to be more
more
complicated.
complicated, and it's not. That's why I always say your voice, you got it, you carry it with you everywhere you go. Your
For
breath,
most of us, our hands are touched
hands.
some way. I there's always something that we can do for self-love. And the first thing is that we are worthy. We deserve. We were born. We just by being born, we deserve it. Okay. We were here, we came here to experience, not to be unworthy. Okay. So that is really important for women to understand. In and this is not religious, but I love this little story. The Buddha um, had his attendant who was his cousin named Mara. Sorry, named Ananda, who attended to his needs. And then there was the enemy outside called Mara. And Mara is really our shadow side, or the things that we don't like about each other. And then Ananda said, "Oh my gosh, he's right outside. Mara's right outside the door. Don't let Mara in." And the Buddha said, "No, let Mara in. Let the side of ourselves that we hide, that we don't like, that we think is not acceptable, that we don't like about ourselves, let it in, because that's when we're befriending. And when we don't befriend and when we're just resisting, what we resist persists. So to let that in, that's including our emotions. Now there's different things we can do to act rather than react, okay, or not act at all, and to release. But we need to let that in. We need to let it sink in. That fat that we don't like, if you're constantly hating that fat will be more resistant.
Yep.
Instead of loving all parts of ourselves and say, "Thank you, fat. Thank you. I needed you at some point in my life. Maybe it was a self-protection. Maybe it was whatever. But that was that you've helped me. Maybe I don't need you anymore, but you've helped me."
Yeah,
That's a different way of thinking. It's a different perspective.
sure. Yeah, it's always knowing that the body is always trying to help us, always trying to bring us back to stasis, always. And it compensates and overcompensates and undercompensates all the time to, keep us in that balance. And that, instead of looking at the symptoms by one symptom, by itself, to look at, as you say, in your practice, you're looking at the body, the mind, spirituality, the mental, emotional, as a holistic being. And it's so much more, it just makes so much more sense to me. Yeah, to bring that in, bring in Mara, bring in that shadow. Yeah, that's what we have this for. We have this to release, to empty out, to look at those shadows inside and know how to release them. And these practices, yeah, they're simple, they're easy. You carry them with you half the time. Are you going to have this great, amazing, samadhi, doing a breath exercise for the first time? Probably not. But each time you do one of those, they're cumulative and they build upon one another, and they will, as I have know from my own work, they give you a much, much, much greater sense of presence and depth and calmness in your body. And when things get a little crazy, I'm like, oh, you know what? I forgot to go out and ground today. It's like, oh, what am I doing? Or I didn't do my jaw releasing exercise and my gratitude exercise in the morning before I even got out of bed. You know, uh, just little things like that. It's amazing how it can shift your perception. It can shift how you feel in your body, and it can just give you a greater sense of being more integrated, you know, head, body, mind to the, and just connected, the body, mind, and heart rather than all neck up living.
Yeah, and the key that you talked about is, sometimes you have these epiphanies and ahas, but most of the time these are practices, and it's called a practice because it's practice, right? Just like the first time you got on a bike, most of us didn't ride the bike without any falls the first time, right? It took a while till we got the hang of it. It's a practice.
Yep.
Same with all of those things, at practice and consistency. And I know that people think, oh my gosh, I don't have time for anything else. So I say, start small, start one thing at a time, just one thing. And then you'll notice, it's actually, I really have more time and I'm more relaxed and I can do more things. And I don't feel so like I'm going to pull my hair out at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, you don't have to spend a lot of time doing this stuff. It's as simple as looking at yourself in the mirror when you pass by a mirror and stopping and just taking a deep breath and looking at yourself and smiling.
And
That's
for all of
it,
you right now, just do it right now.
right?
Nobody's looking, nobody's watching. And even if people know, oh my, they're trying to calm themselves down.
It does. It makes a difference. You can feel it. Yeah.
Now, there's physiological things too, and I know we probably have to go soon, but there's physiological things to help, because physiological is also energetic. It's just densing down in a different way. So, for some of us who are already in the perimenopause period, where we've got the hot flashes, the night sweats, again from, we're balancing our endocrine glands, but there's also things people say, okay, go to take hormone replacement therapy, and maybe you need it. And I would never say not to, but there are things called phytoestrogens that will help our estrogen receptors and help balance that out, help balance our moods, because sometimes we need that too. So there's, when we take a look at someone, that's the holistic aspect of it. It's a holistic aspect of it, right? That your conventional medical professionals, not that they're trying to hide it, they just don't know, because that's not how they've been taught. And many of them are starting to understand that too. So we're looking at the mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual, because it all comes together. There is no separation.
And that is a beautiful stopping point. There is no separation, period. Yeah. We are a unified being, and it's wonderful. Yeah, to be discovering that and rediscovering that.
and reconnecting.
Yes, yes.
Connecting to ourselves and something that's greater. That connection to ourselves, to other women, to whatever you think is greater. That connection, we need that as women too.
Oh gosh, yeah. Yeah, I feel like we're just scratching the surface here today, Susan. And maybe we'll have to have you back for another talk sometime. But
Thoroughly
thank you.
enjoyed it.
Thank you so much for your wisdom and your kindness. And you have such a beautiful an energy of just wanting to give and wanting to help. Yeah, I can see that from the time you were a little girl with your animals, helping your animals, to now coming into the fullness of who you are, and really bringing all of your beautiful experience to bear is wonderful. And you know your clients are very blessed to have you. And we were today as well, too. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
coming on board. Thank you. Take care.